So hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So in this video I'm going to show you how to create a cross section in HEC-RAS 2D for flood modeling. So now let's get started. So the next geometric feature we're going to create is the cross section, and this is a critical feature which is used in the HEC-RAS. So this particular geometry is very useful in defining the cross section of the river. So before starting digitizing the cross sections, so we need to follow the 4 rules before digitizing the river cross section. So let's get started. So the first rule we're gonna follow when digitizing the cross section. So the first rule is, so whenever we digitize the cross section, the first rule is we always start from the left side of the river. So we're gonna start digitizing the cross section from the left side of the river towards the right side. So the first rule, we start digitizing the cross section from the left side of the river towards the right side of the river in the downstream. So make sure that you start your digitization. So start drawing your cross section from the left side of the river towards the right side of the river. So this is we have to start from the downstream of this river. So I'm starting from the downstream. So this is our downstream area, and towards this portion is our upstream area. So this is our upstream area. So I'm gonna start create my cross section right from the downstream area, starting from the left side of the river towards the right side of the river. I'm gonna draw my cross section from left side of the river towards the right side of the river. So this is the first rule we're gonna follow for creating the cross section. So this is the left side of the river, and this is the right side of the river. And in case of the tributary here, so you can able to see this is one of the tributary. And in the case of tributary, so for the tributary, this is the left side of the river, and this is the right side of the river. So we have to start creating a cross section from towards the left side of the tributary towards the right side of the tributary. So this is the first rule we're going to follow while digitizing the cross sections. And the second rule we're going to follow when creating a cross section is when we are drawing a cross section across these lines. For example, starting with the flow path and the bank lines, which is highlighted in the red color, followed by the river center line. So we make sure that when you're creating a cross section, the cross section lines should intersect all these lines together, starting with the left side of the flow path and the left side of the bank lines and the river center line, and the right side of the bank lines and the right side of the flow path. So if you are digitizing the cross section, make sure that your cross section intersects the left side of the flow path and the left side of the bank lines, river center line, the right side of the bank lines, as well as the right side of the flow path. So this is the second rule to follow when digitizing a cross section. And the third rule we're going to follow when creating a cross section is that make sure that if you're creating a cross section line, and make sure that your cross section line doesn't intersect with another cross section line. For example, if I'm going to create a cross section line in this way, so in this way from the left to right, and make sure that another cross section doesn't intersect with this cross section. So let me explain this third rule once more again here. So that is make sure that no cross section intersect with each other. So that is our third rule. And the last rule, so the fourth rule to follow when creating a cross section is if you're drawing a cross section, make sure that your cross section intersects the river center line at perpendicular. So all your cross section should intersect the river center line at perpendicular to the river center line. So it might be a bit of hard, but try to draw the cross section as perpendicular to the river center line. So the river center line is indicated in this particular color, that is blue color, you can able to see. So this is our river center line. So all the cross section you're going to draw, it should intersect at perpendicular to the river center line. Make it as perpendicular as possible. And if you're going to draw the cross section as perpendicular as possible, so it is kind of difficult. So make sure that you draw your cross section as perpendicular as possible to the river center line. So with those rules in the mind, the 4 rules I have stated earlier, keep those in your mind when you're creating your cross section. So before we start creating the cross section, the question that arises in your mind, so that is how many cross section that is we need to draw. So the rule is when you're creating your first cross section, make sure that the next cross section is created at least half a kilometer of difference, the half a kilometer of distance. For example, so we're gonna use this particular tool called measure distance here. So I'm gonna click this tool. So for example, I'm gonna let me check out this particular length as my the cross section difference between one cross section to another. So I'm gonna click this. So you can able to see which is around 611.2 meters. So this is the amount of this is the distance. It's gonna be the distance between the two cross sections. So every half a kilometer, we're gonna create another cross section. So if you're gonna create, for example, so if you're gonna create a cross section here, so right from the left to right here, so you have to create another cross section with a minimum distance of around half a kilometer. After a half a kilometer distance, you can create another line. So you can able to see this particular measure tool here. So it is around 594.3 meters. So I'm gonna create a cross section after every 500 meters of interval. So the basic thumb rule is that a cross section can be at least half a kilometer apart. So I'm gonna create a cross section after every half a kilometer of distance. So if you're gonna create a cross section from this particular from left to right, and after every half a kilometer, so we're gonna create another cross section. And also you can have a higher or a lower spacing according to your so depending on how detailed of a geometry you want to define for your study. So I'm gonna use this distance of something around this much here, around half a kilometer. So you can able to see 524.4 meters. So this is the distance between, it's gonna be between each cross sections. And the last rule is no cross section should intersect with each other. So first I'm gonna draw my cross section here. So I'm gonna place the point here, and my cross section I can able to see it is perpendicular to the river center line, and from I'm drawing the cross section from left towards the right. So I'm gonna draw this. I'm gonna double click to finish this cross section. So in the next step, I'm gonna give it a gap of around 500 meters, that is half a kilometer. So we're gonna draw a cross section. So in this way, we have to draw the cross section in this way, where it meets the river center line at perpendicular. So we're gonna draw in such a way. I'm gonna try to draw as perpendicular as possible. So I'm gonna place my second cross section over here, and I'm gonna draw my cross section, and make sure that your cross section doesn't intersect with other cross sections. So we're gonna place my cross section somewhere here, and I'm gonna double click to finish my cross section. So now I have created my second cross section. So in the next step, I'm gonna create another cross section here. So make sure that you follow all the four rules I've stated earlier. So I'm gonna draw my cross section perpendicular to the river center line, and intersecting all the flow path, intersecting all the lines, for example the flow path and bank lines and river center lines. So we're gonna draw my third cross section here. So we're gonna planning to draw my cross section from here, which intersecting all the lines. So we're gonna complete this. You're gonna double click to complete this cross section. So you can able to see here this particular cross section line which intersect perpendicular to the river center line. So likewise, you have to draw your cross section in such a way as perpendicular as possible. And similarly, make sure that your cross section line don't intersect with other cross section lines. So you can also zoom in and make sure that your cross section lines are perpendicular to the river center line. So I'm gonna draw another cross section here. So likewise, I'm going to continue drawing my cross section here. So make sure that you follow those 4 rules. So we can able to see my cross sections have perpendicular to the river center line as perpendicular as possible, and intersecting all the flow path lines, bank lines, and river center lines, both the right and left side. So now we're going to create another cross section line here. And the next stage, you can able to see we have this a tributary. So you can able to see this is a tributary here. So let me continue my cross section here. So I'm going to make sure that my cross sections are perpendicular to the river center line, and make sure that I'm going to join here in this flow path line, and make sure that your cross section that doesn't intersect with other cross section lines. Similarly, I'm going to draw another cross section line here, and which is perpendicular to the river center line, and I'm going to connect back to this particular flow path line. So we're going to make sure that our river cross section line doesn't intersect with other cross section lines. And similarly, I'm going to draw one more the cross section here. So I'm going to place my point here and make sure that it's perpendicular to the river center line. So we can able to see it is perpendicular to the river center line, and I'm going to join it somewhere here. So you can zoom it well and make sure that your cross section line doesn't intersect with the other cross section lines. So in the next step, I'm going to cover towards this part of the river section here. So you can able to see I'm going to draw my cross section over these areas. And you can also able to see this flow path is you can able to see this particular flow path as belongs to a tributary, and this particular flow path belongs to our river. So I don't want to connect my cross section towards this flow path, and I'm going to continue drawing my cross section for the river here. So we can able to see if a flow path appears here. So this is the flow path we created. So I'm going to draw from left towards the right. So I'm going to draw my flow path, my cross section here. I'm going to place my point here and make sure that the line is perpendicular to the river center line, and I'm going to join it back to over the flow path line here, so covering all the lines. And similarly, I'm going to place my point here, and I'm going to make sure my cross section is perpendicular to the river center line. And similarly, I'm going to place my cross section perpendicular to the river center line. And here I'm going to place my point and perpendicular to my river center line. So likewise, I'm going to continue drawing my cross sections. So you can able to see I'm drawing my cross sections along this river channel. So make sure that you follow all those rules and remember those rules when drawing this cross section. And I'm going to draw my cross section here. So I have drawn my cross section till this point here. You can able to see that. So we have to go creating a cross section till here. So now here you can able to see we have drawn cross section till here. So I have few more areas to cover my cross section. So I have to draw a few more cross sections to cover my study area. So in the upper reach, this is the upstream area. So I'm gonna continue by drawing my cross sections. So now here you can able to see we're going to complete my cross section for my study area. So we're going to finish my cross section. So we can able to see this particular area. So it is a kind of so it looks a kind of a bridge structure here. So so in case if you want to incorporate a bridge in our HEC-RAS, so whenever you want to incorporate a structure, so you want to make sure that so you make sure to draw a cross section over the upstream of those structure as well as the downstream of those structure. So for example, I've drawn one of the cross section here, so we're going to draw another cross section here, so you can incorporate this structure. So now we have drawn the cross section of downstream of the structure as well as the cross section on along the upstream of the structure. So now we're going to continue to draw my cross section here. And make sure that you draw your cross section inside the terrain model. So for that, make sure that you zoom well and draw your cross section inside the terrain model. So now I'm going to complete my cross section here. So I'm going to double click. So now we have completed drawing a cross section of our river. So next we're going to draw the cross section for our tributary. So let me navigate towards my tributary here. So you can able to see this is my cross sections I've created here. And for the river, so now we're going to create a cross section for our tributary. So similarly, I'm going to draw the cross section for our tributary here. So you can able to see this is the tributary. So we're going to zoom in here, and this is the flow path for our tributary. So you can able to see these are the four flow path of our tributary. So we're going to start from the left towards the right here. So connecting the flow path and bank lines and river center line, as well as the right bank lines and the right flow path. So to draw this, so our flow path starts from here for the tributary here. So we're going to draw from here onwards. So we're going to start drawing our cross section from top here. So I'm going to place my point from the left towards the right. So for this tributary, this is the left and this is right. So we're going to draw from the left towards the right. So make sure that it is perpendicular to the river center line. We're going to zoom in well. And I'm going to draw another cross section perpendicular to the river center line. And it's kind of perpendicular here. And it's kind of difficult to draw a perfect perpendicular to the river center line. So try as perpendicular as possible. So make sure that you draw this cross section as perpendicular as possible. So I'm drawing this cross section perpendicular to the river center line. And make sure that your cross section doesn't intersect with other cross sections here. So you can able to see we have several cross sections. So now when you come towards the junction point here for the tributary and the main channel, you can able to see. So this is our main channel and this is our tributary. And make sure that be careful that your cross section doesn't intersect with other cross sections. So we're gonna draw my cross section here. So this is the junction point. So we're gonna make sure that my cross section is perpendicular to the reverse center line, as well as it doesn't intersect with the other cross sections. Gonna zoom here and gonna place the cross section here. And this area is a kind of an intersection point here. So you can able to see we don't have any cross section in this junction point here. So in those situations, we're gonna use this kind of gonna place my cross section in this way. So I'm gonna place a point and make sure that my cross section, my cross section is perpendicular to the reverse center line here, and I'm gonna place the cross section here. So now let me save this particular one. So I'm gonna navigate to the cross section. I'm gonna right click. And before saving, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna navigate to this option called update cross sections and all XS attributes. So now I've applied that. So I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna save this by stop editing, clicking this option called stop editing, and I'm gonna click this option called yes to save the edits, to save my cross sections. So once you did that, again I'm gonna click and I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna turn on edit. Click this option called edit geometry, and now to for this junction point, if you need a cross section. So for example, I could like to draw my cross section for the main channel here. So I'm gonna place a point here, perpendicular to this cross section is perpendicular to the reverse center line, and I'm gonna navigate back here towards the flow path of this main channel. Gonna zoom well here. Make sure that your cross section doesn't intersect with other cross sections, and I'm gonna zoom well here, and I'm gonna connect my the cross section in this flow path. So now we're completed. Can able to see. So in this way you can draw a cross section this kind of situations. So that is in case of this junction point. So now we're gonna save this. I'm gonna right click and click this option called gonna turn this gonna click this option called all XS attributes, and I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna click this option called stop editing, and I'm gonna click this option called yes to save all the cross sections. So we have this notification called HEC-RAS requires the edge lines to intersect the end of the cross sections. Based on edit, new point has been inserted at each cross section missing an intersection. So I'm gonna click OK. So it's gonna create those intersection. So this particular area is kind of complex. You can able to see that. So I'm gonna zoom out here now, and we have created the cross section for our study region here. So you can able to see that, and make sure that I'm gonna save this, save, and now we're gonna navigate to the cross sections here. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna click this option called open attribute table, and this is our attribute table. Let me expand this. And you can able to see from this attribute table all this attribute these fields are populated. So these fields are already populated. So once we saved our edits, so these fields are automatically have populated here. You can able to see that. So you can able to see, let me show you that. So this is a lower reach. You can able to see this is a lower reach and tributary reach, and let me navigate. This is these are all upper reach. So from this field here, from this attribute table, the key attributes which includes the length here, LOB, that is which indicates the left overbank, and the length channel, and the right overbank, and the right bank and the left bank, which defines the point where the cross section intersects with the bank lines. So the left bank which indicates the left bank lines which indicates the distance from the left end of the cross section to the left bank, and this is the right bank, the right end of the cross section to the right bank. And here you can able to see some of the cross section doesn't have attributes here, so you can able to see that. So just because it doesn't have any the cross sections, so this particular channel doesn't have the cross section, which is indicated as a blank one here. So once you created the cross sections, we have created the geometries for our HEC-RAS. So these geometries, which includes the river center lines, the bank lines, as well as the flow path, and last is our cross section. So the other thing you want to make sure that you check that when you digitize this cross section, so you want to make sure that you capture the entire profile, and you can check the profile by right clicking on this feature here. For example, I'm going to click this feature. So when you right click, we have this option here. In that you're going to navigate to the selected features, and in that we have this option called plot terrain profile. So you can able to see this is the cross section profile. So in this profile, I can able to see the one side which represents the elevation and other side which represents the station. So similarly, you can draw a profile for another cross section. I'm going to close this. So for example, I'm going to select this particular tributary cross section, and I'm going to right click, and so I'm going to select features, and I'm going to select plot terrain profile. So here you can able to see the profile here. So the one side is clearly which indicates the, so for example, this particular area kind of represents the floodplain area, and this is the profile. And we have another option called table. So this table will provide us stationing and elevation. So you can able to see this is a station and terrain elevation and the cross section, and here the stationing which meaning that the distance along the cross section, and there is the elevation for each point. So let me show you that, and there is the elevation for each points. So let me close this, and this is how I can create your cross section for our flood model. So in this video I have shown you how to create a cross section using HEC-RAS 2D for our flood modeling. So thanks for watching, and make sure that you subscribe to our channel and give us a like.